Dear all, okay. So we are discussing about our module 3 topics, that is IO organization. And in this session, we are mainly deal with accessing of IO devices, interrupts, again DMA, buses, interface circuits, and standard IO interfaces. In this session, I am trying to deliver the topics under module 3, that is IO organization, and the contents in the module is these things. And the expected course outcome, that is, after completing this course, you are supposed to select appropriate interfacing standards for IO devices. That is its expected course outcome. So we can work for that. And before starting the actual topics, we can start with some basics. Okay, we all know that the definition of a computer, then again the purpose of a computer, etc. And if we are considering the purpose of a particular computer, that is process data. So process data in the sense of it may be recorded data or it may be available in your database, etc. Otherwise, the live data. Access it, process it, then again produce the result to the outside world. So we have to receive some inputs. We have to collect data from outside world. It may be from a user, it may be from a set of users, etc. Through some keyboard, through some voice inputs, etc. Or through some sensor input, and process that data, and after that it will produce some output and deliver that output to the required persons through some output devices. It may be an alarm, it may be a printed data, or it may be use other representations. Suppose it may be a video, or it may be a chart, or it may be uh, a presentation or something like. Okay, so there is some output devices are there, a set of input devices are there. So we are integrating this input and output device along with our computers. So we require some interface or interfacing standards to connect your different input devices with your, as you have a set of input devices are there. So that set of input devices are connected to your computer similar to that. So there is an interfacing is required there similar to your output devices. And if you're considering the computers, they are integrate a set of integrated circuit or something like that. Definition is known to you. And in some system, it may be the viewable one. If suppose if you are searching for something in your internet, the every user can see that the main part of that particular uh, system is our computer system. And sometimes computer systems are used there, but they are not visible to the other users. Suppose transportation system, banking system, etc. They are the integral part, but that is not used by all of its users. Suppose if you go for a banking transaction, it uses banking servers and clients systems are there. You are not interacting directly with that particular system. In between, there is a bank person is there. Okay. And point of sale system. Suppose if you go to any supermarkets, you can see that several systems are client systems are there. They are connected with their servers, but you are not directly interfacing with that particular system. Similar to that, in some other systems, we can consider some other systems such as uh, that uses IoT or artificial intelligence, etc. For example, some fire alarms in industries. So it work based on the sensor inputs and it process that particular inputs. After that, it provides some output as uh, work with some actuators or work with some motors or yeah, increase the speed or open some valves or increase the speed of motor or turn a door in a particular direction, etc. That is also done by a computer system with the help of a computer system. Also, in some other devices that contains processors or computers, a small computer has its core parts such as your digital camera. Nowadays, the digital camera it captures images and processes it to provide some better uh, pictures. Similar to your mobile phones, that also consists of you can use it for several purposes. So it consists of a small, not small, small one, but a powerful processor contained in that. Okay. So next we can deal with our topics such as first one that is accessing IO devices. So we are starting with very basic or simple structure and we have a set of n IO devices are there that is connected to our processor and memory system using a single bus. Okay, that is single bus architecture. You all know that single bus architecture. And in single bus architecture, it consists of a data bus, an address bus, and also it consists of a control bus. So everything in that particular system that is connected through a single bus. And here the multiple IO devices that is connected to a processor and memory via a single bus. And that single bus that consists of three lines to carry address or to carry data and to carry control signals. Suppose if there are n systems are there, you have to identify each device uniquely. So for each system or each device, IO device, there is a unique address is there. So we are accessing each device by using that particular unique address. So we have to carry the address part. That address part is carried through the address bus. Also assume that we have to display some data in your display devices or CRT monitor, LCD monitor, etc. So we have to pass the data from that particular processor side to your output device. So there is a database is required there, and we have to specify what is the operation we are expected to perform. That is why we have to provide different control signals such as read control signal or write control signal or memory read or memory write or IO read or IO write, etc. So that control signals are provided by using that control bus. To access the IO devices, the processors place the address on the address bus and initiate the control signals such as read or write, etc. And we are connecting our input devices or output devices to your system, and you have to uniquely identify each system. So there are basically two concepts out there. First one is memory mapped IO and the second one is IO mapped IO. Memory mapped IO means you are treating your IO address as memory address. So assume that you are reserving first n bytes in your memory for assigning output or input devices. Okay, so assume that you are reserving first 10 bytes. So first address is, assume that if it is 0000 and the next address is 0001 and next address 0010, etc. The first address, that is 000, that denotes a particular device, your input device 1 or output device 1. Then 0001, that denotes your second device or input device 2 or output device 2, and so on. So you are mapping the memory address space for IO devices. That is, it is called as memory mapped IO. The advantage is that you can use any machine instructions, any data transfer machine instructions that can access the memory can be used to transfer the data to or from the IO devices, because it is treated as the same as your memory. Okay, you can perform operations in the sense of data transfer operations like in your memory operations. And this is a simple architecture, but the problem is that you are reserving that n bytes, your memory space n bytes, for addressing the IO devices. So you cannot able to use that n bytes of your memory address space because it is reserved for that IO address space. And the second concept is that use separate address space for IO. So there is a separate address space IO address, that is IO mapped IO. Okay. So the same address that can be used for denoting memory and IO devices. So if you are using our normal data transfer, the memory data transfer operations, that is deals with your memory. So there are special instructions are required there for IO transfers. For example, in instruction, out instruction, that is designed for that purpose. In instruction, that is used for in accepting input from IO devices, and out instruction, that is used for performing output operations. So here the special instructions are required to perform IO transfers. So IO address lines need not be physically separate from the memory address line, but it requires some control signals that indicate whether it is a memory address or IO address. So instead of normal read or write operation, you have to provide IO read or IO write or memory read or memory write, etc. So its advantage is that you can use the entire memory space for storing data. That is the first advantage, because in the other concept you are reserving the n bytes for denoting IO address. Here you can use the entire byte for storing data, and it requires fewer address lines because you are using the same address for memory, denoting memory, and the same address that for denoting the IO devices. But its architecture is more complex compared to memory mapped by, because it requires separate control signals that denote is it a memory operation or IO operation. And we can go with a simple example how an input device is connected to your bus. So we are elaborating the bus structure. So the bus that consists of address lines, data lines, and control lines. And in between your bus and input device, there is an interface is required there. So that is denoted by IO interface. And it consists of address decoder, then control circuit, data, and status registers. So for each block, there is a purpose is there, and we can go through that. So the address decoder, as its name suggests, it enables the device to recognize its address when this address appears on the address lines. Suppose if you have to perform any IO transfer operations, you have to provide an address part there. So if you are providing that address space or address, the address decoder check that particular address. If the address is correspond to that particular device, it enables that particular device to perform any IO operations. Okay. And there is a status register is there. So status that denotes something. Okay. The status of that particular device or operation, etc. So that contain the information relevant to the operation of IO devices. And apart from that, there is a data register is there that hold the data being transferred to or from the processor. And there are two different kinds of data registers are there. We can say that it is a buffer, and there is an input buffer and output buffer is there, and it is denoted by, here it is denoted by data in and data out. So the data in is an input buffer associated with the keyboard or any other input devices, and output buffer the data out, and output data buffer for a display device or printer, etc. Okay, so go through that picture. That's a simple picture. So there is an interconnection network is there, and a processor part is there. Then again keyboard part is there. Then there is an output device, that display part is there. So each input and output part that consists of an interface that contains data, status, and control part. And there is a problem is there for transferring information between the processor and your IO device. There is we cannot consider it as a problem. It's a speed mismatch. Okay, because processor that is a fast device, but if you're considering any IO devices, it is a very slow device. So there is a speed mismatch is there. So assume that if I am delivering contents in a very fast or very fast manner, assume then you are a slow acceptor. So you cannot able to catch everything what I am delivering. Similar to that, processor is the fast device or the fastest device in your computer system, and your input or output device that is a slower one or the slowest one. So there is a synchronization gap, or there is a synchronization is required there. So we are using mainly three methods there, and the first method is polling, second method is using interrupt, and the third method is direct memory access. So we can go through each in detail. So first we can discuss it peripherally. And the first one, that is program controlled IO. The concept is that the processor repeatedly monitors a status flag to achieve the necessary synchronization. and it is also called as the polling. The processor polls the IO devices, which means that there is a program there that monitor a particular flag or particular device frequently to identify its status. Suppose if if you are writing a program to uh, identify a key press, okay, so you are monitoring. There is a program there. You are using some loop there, and that loop wo works for identifying a key press. So it repeatedly doing the same thing. If there is a key press is there now, so it wait for some time, and after that some microseconds, and after that it again check if there is a key press is there now, and it do the same process repeatedly. Assume that if there is a key press is occurred there, then it moves to, or it call another method to identify that particular key press and provide it to your processor. So the one of the difficulty in that particular method is that the processor is busy with checking if there is a key press is there, if there is a key press is there, if there is a key press is, so it continuously checking, it continuously check that particular status flag to identify particular key press. The processor is always busy with that. Okay, so so we have two other mechanisms are there, that is using interrupts and direct memory access. In, in the case of interrupts, instead of checking repeatedly, there is another mechanism is included in your IO device to initiate an action or give a control signal to that particular processor that informs the processor that there is a key process occurred, and processor can receive or accept that particular key press. So here, instead of the processor, the IO device initiate an action. In the case of polling, the processor initiate action. Processor continuously checking for a particular key press. Instead of that, here the device initiate an action. So here the device sends an INTR, enter signal as an interrupt signal, over bus whenever it is ready for a data transfer operation. Ready for data. Suppose if there is a key press is there, the keyboard sends an INTR signal to the processor that indicate the process that there is a key press is occurred. Okay, that is interrupted IO. There is another mechanism is there, direct memory access. Here, the device interface transfer data directly to or from the memory without the continuous involvement by the processor. So there is this DMA control is there that is responsible for transferring data or moving data from mode to the memory without the involvement by the processor. So DMA technique that is used for high speed IO devices. So we can discuss, or we can go through an example how the keyboard display interface work. So as we discussed, there are two buffers are there. That is, first one is data in and the second one is data out. Also, it consists of a status register and control register. So here the status register, it consists of DIRQ, KIRQ, S out and S in, and the control signal that contains DEN and KEN. Okay, so we can go through each register or each signal. DIRQ is an interrupt request for display. KIRQ is an interrupt request for keyboard. KEN is keyboard enable. DN is keyboard display enable. SIN and S out, that is status flags. And when SIN equal to 1, which means that the character is entered at keyboard, and if it is 0, which means that that character is read by the processor. So that is empty. Suppose if you are pressing a particular key, that flag set as 1, which means that the character is one a single character is entered in keyboard. After reading that particular character by the processor, that flag becomes 0. Okay. So the simplest ways to identify the interrupting device is to have ISR poll all devices to connected to that particular bus, and the first device encountered with its IRQ bit set is serviced, and after servicing the first device, the next request may be serviced. And its advantage is it is simple and easy to implement, and its disadvantage is more time spent for polling IRQ bits for all devices. Okay, so we can go through a small program that is, I think it is not as much important, but we have to discuss that. So its first line, that is move hash line comma R0, that initialize a memory pointer, and there is a label is there, that wait k wait d. So test bit, that is used to for it is denotes test a particular bit. Hash 0 hash the immediate value 0 comma status. So it does for SIN. So first part is that is related with your keyboard, and second part is that is related with your display. And so it check the status. Here the status is SIN. If it is 0, which means that there is no element is available in your keyboard buffer. Okay. So if it is 0, again it waits. So it repeatedly check that SIN bit. So your program is available in your memory and it is processed by your processor. The processor is busy with checking. That is the disadvantage of polling. So it first execute this line. So SIN bit, it check SIN bit is 0 or not. If it is 0, that is branch equal to 0, it again go to that particular bit k. So then it all it execute again this line, that is test bit hash zeros comma status. So it repeatedly check that these two statements. So processor always busy with these two lines when there is no key press. Assume that if there is a key press is there, the SIN bit it becomes 1, so the condition will fail. So it go to the next statement, that is move data in comma R1. So it read the character from your input buffer to the register R1. Okay. Again it go to the next line, that is test bit #1 status. So status here denoted by S out, because these deals with our output device or your display device. So if it is 1, which means that is busy with something, that is not ready for accepting that particular character. So if it is 1, which means that the branch equal to 0, so it wait for the display to become ready. Okay, so again it repeatedly check these two statements. If it becomes 1, that means that it is ready. And after that, if it is ready, it go to the next statement, that is you are moving the character to display that is available in your R1 register to your data out. Data out is your output buffer. After that, you are storing R0 plus the content of the next location pointed by R0, that is an auto incremented mode. It increment the R0 by 1, and after that the content of that is moved to R1. Okay, so it execute a particular line, a set of characters, and it is available in R1. And in the next line it compares the data available in R1, that is equal to 0D. 0D means carriage return. Okay, suppose if you are pressing an enter key, there is a line feed and form feed is there, 0A and 0DH. Okay, so if there is a form, well, carriage return is there, that statement, the entire statement is processed, which means that the entire statement is processed, because assume that there is a 7 carrier you are entered uh, India. So first letter is I, then next letter is N, next letter is D, next letter is I, next letter is A, and after that you are pressing an enter key there. So 0A, if you are pressing an enter key, 0A and 0D is entered. So 0D, which means that you are processed that particular line. So if it is 0D, which means that you are processed and you are jumping to wait k. The entire character is processed. Okay, otherwise send a line feed there, that is 0H, and it calls a routine that is called as process. That routine is mean for input a line. So it process, it called that particular this subroutine process. Okay, this is the way it read the character and display it in your display devices. So we can discuss the remaining topics later, that is interrupt, DMA, buses, etc. So thank you all. Thank you. So if you have any queries, please feel free to contact. So go through the slide, go through the textbook, and after that, please feel free to contact me if you have any doubts. Thank you.